Hey guys, Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. Here in today's video, we're going to talk about something called the tonics chart. So this is not a super popular thing, and I know this for a fact because number one, someone emailed me about this a few months ago, and they said, "Hey Brian, would you mind making a video about the tonics chart? I would love to hear your take on it." And when I got that email, I'd never heard of tonics before. I looked it up, I studied it, I learned the practical application of this chart, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. How have I never heard of that before? I then made a post in the Zombie Guitar Members Facebook group last week. I said, hey guys, I'm going to do a video on this tonics chart thing. If you guys are interested, it's going to be coming out next week, which is this week now. And 100% of the people that commented on that post had never heard of it before either. This leads me to believe that this is not a super popular thing. Not like the circle of fifths. I refer to the circle of fifths in almost every single one of my videos, which, by the way, if you haven't seen my recent video about the circle of fifths, which is called the 16 practical applications of the circle of fifths, I will post a link to that below. I highly advise you to check that out if you are interested in learning about the circle of fifths. But anyway, that's just a side note. In this video, we're going to be talking about this tonics thing. Number one, I'm just going to give you a quick whiteboard presentation, just explaining to you why the notes are laid out in the way that they are. And that way you can kind of replicate this tonics chart if you ever need to. So you need to understand the why, and then we're going to talk about the practical application. That's going to be the second thing. Once you know how these notes are laid out and arranged, there's just so many practical uses for this chart. So I have some extra room on my arm. I have my circle of fifths here on my arm. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get a tonics chart on the other side or something. I don't know. Super, super useful. Let's get into it. Alright, so I have a whiteboard opened here, and the first thing I want to do is explain to you why the notes are laid out in the way that they are on this tonics chart. So the thing to understand is that this tonics chart, it goes on for infinity in both the x-axis direction and the y-axis direction. So technically you could start on any note you want in either direction, and it just keeps on going and going and going, but we're going to start out with the note G. That's what most of the charts that you find online are going to start out with, so we're going to start out with the note G. So we're going to write that right there. So we're going to label some notes in this direction here. So we're going to call this the y-axis, but you're going to put it on a sort of diagonal line here. So the way that it works is these move in major thirds. All right, so a major third above G is B. So you put a B right here. And now a major third above B is the note D sharp. So we put in a D sharp right here. Now, if you don't know what your major thirds are, you can use your circle of fifths to help you out. Let me pull up a circle of fifths here. So starting on the note G, if you count 4 in the clockwise direction, so starting on G, 1, 2, 3, 4, the note B is a major third above. If you then count 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a major third above. That's the note E flat. E flat is the same note as D sharp. Talk about all the sharps and flats in this chart momentarily. So anyway, you're starting on a G, 1, 2, 3, 4. B, that's a major third above. 1, 2, 3, 4. E flat, D sharp, that's a major third above. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're back at G again. All right, so when you're moving in major thirds, it's just going to cycle indefinitely. All right, so now we're going to go in this direction. So in music, you have sharp notes and you have flat notes. So this tonics chart takes into account both the sharp notes and the flat notes. So in order to keep this major thirds thing, we're going to have to find an equivalent to the note D sharp right here. So right here, you're going to put the note E flat, all right, because you want sharps and flats in this chart. So then right here, you're going to need an equivalent for the note B, but we're going to put it in terms of some sort of a flat note, so it's going to be called C flat. Take the note C, 1 less than the note C is C flat. There's really no such thing as a C flat, we just call it a B, but for the purposes of this chart, we're going to call it a C flat. And then we're going to do one more. I'm running out of space here, so that's going to have to be the equivalent of the note G, but put into some sort of flat name. So the name for that is going to be A flat flat. Take the note A, 1 less than the note A is A flat. 1 less than the note A flat is A flat flat, otherwise just known as G. Essentially what we have is G B, D sharp, G, B, D sharp. But we wanted sharp names down here, and we wanted flat names up here, and that's why we gave it A flat flat, C flat, and E flat name. So that would be essentially the y-axis, but it's diagonal. It's the up and down axis made diagonal, so that's the y-axis. Now we need to go in this direction. So going in this direction, you're going to go a fifth above every note. So starting on the note G, a fifth above the note G is going to be the note D. A fifth above the note D is going to be the note A. So again, if you don't know your fifths, you can use the circle of fifths to help you out with that. That's how the notes are arranged on the circle of fifths. They move around the circle counterclockwise in fifths. So let's pull that up again. So here you see the note G. A fifth above G is the note D. A fifth above D is the note A. A fifth above A is the note E. So it just moves in fifths. So if you need to use the circle of fifths to help you make this chart, you can do so. So a fifth above A is going to be the note E. A fifth above E is going to be the note B. And you can just keep going indefinitely for as long as you want. You can do the same thing starting on the note B. A fifth above B is the note F sharp. And again, you just keep moving in fifths in this direction, but you want to keep in mind that anything on this lower portion of the chart is going to have sharp names. Anything on this upper portion of the chart is going to have flat names, because you want to take into account that you need both flats and sharps on this tonics chart. Alright, so now it's time for the practical applications of this chart. So as you can see here, this chart has already been completed. I already showed you the G, move up a third, B, move up a third, D sharp, and then you just do the same thing but in their flat names. And then moving in this direction, it moves in fifths. It moves up fifths. So G, D, A, E, B, starting on B, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and so on. And then all of your sharp notes are down here, and all of your flat notes are up here. So this would be a completed tonics chart. Alright, so the thing to understand about these notes is that the interval between notes is always going to be the same, no matter what the starting point is. This is called equal temperament. So we have 12 evenly spaced notes in music. If you look at a piano, you have 12 notes. You can call these notes by either their sharp names, you can call them by their flat names, but it's one semitone apart. So each note from one note to the next is one semitone apart. That's the chromatic scale. The 12-note chromatic scale is just 12 equally spaced notes, and that's it. That's equal temperament. So this just arranges these 12 notes. You have your flats, you have your sharps. Now you have this chart. Let's look for the practical application of this stuff now. So let's start out by making some major chords. So a major chord is just, it's known as a major triad, 3 notes. So a C major chord, C, E, G. Find your note C. So here's a C, here's an E, here's a G. So that little downwards triangle like that is going to apply to any note. Let's say that you want to determine the 3 notes of an F major triad. Start on the note F. F, A, C. It's a little downward triangle. What are the notes of a D major chord? Started on the note D. D, F sharp, A. You see what I mean? So all of the, it doesn't matter what your starting point is, you just do the same little downward triangle, and that gives you your major triad. What if you want a minor triad? Let's try that. So start on the note C. So C, E flat, G. Those are the 3 notes that form a C minor triad. What about an F minor triad? F, A flat, C. So the minor triads are always going to form this upward triangle on this tonics chart. D minor triad, D, F, A. So you can use this for parallel minors or parallel majors as well. So what does that mean? C major, C minor. That is a parallel major-minor pair. So C major is a downward triangle, C, E, G. The parallel minor in comparison to C major would be a C minor. So the downward triangle is C, E, G. The parallel minor is C, E flat, G. So let's try it for another one. F major versus F minor. F, A, C is F major. F, A flat, C is F minor. This will work for any of them. A major, A minor. A major, A, C sharp, E. A minor, A, C, E. Alright, so that gives you your parallel relationship. So this also gives you a relative relationship as well. You've heard C major has the relative minor of A minor, or A minor has the relative major of C major, relative major minor pair. All of that can be determined on this chart as well too. So C, E, G, what's the relative minor of C major? It's A minor. So C, E, G, A, C, E. So your relative relationship is kind of right next to each other like that. So let's try another one. Let's try G major. What's the relative minor of G major? Well, you just use the same shape. So G major is G, B, D. That's that downward triangle thing. And then the triangle in this direction, E, G, B, that's E minor. So G major, E minor, that's your relative major minor pair there. It works for any relative major minor pair. It's always going to be those two triangles. What are the notes of a C major 7 chord? Let's find out. So the notes of a C major chord are C, E, G, B. All right, so you just remember this down, up, down thing. So now you can determine the notes of any major 7 chord. What are the notes of an F major 7 chord? F, A, C, E. What are the notes of a D major 7 chord? D, F sharp, A, C sharp. It's always going to be the same shape. What are the notes of a dominant 7 chord? Let's figure it out. C, E, G, B flat. All right, so you have the downward triangle, but then you keep going up. So that's how you determine the notes of a dominant 7 chord. Let's try to find out an F dominant 7 chord. F, A, C, E flat. Let's try a B flat dominant 7 chord. B flat, D, F, A flat. See how this is working? What are the notes in the C major scale? Let's figure that out. Okay, so you have your note C. F is part of the C major scale. A is part of the C major scale. E, G, B, D. All right, so it looks like if you start on your starting note of the major scale in question right there, you move in that direction, and then you just kind of go like this. That gives you your notes of the major scale in question. So the notes of the C major scale are those notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put them in alphabetical order. That's your C major scale. So that's going to give you your answer for any major scale in question. What are the notes of the F major scale? Okay, so there's your note F. Start there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put those in alphabetical order. There's your F major scale. It's going to work for any major scale on any starting point. So what are the notes of the A natural minor scale? So let's figure that out. So you start on the note A. So there's a note. These are all notes of the A natural minor scale right here. All right, so I know that if I start on the note A, I move in that direction, that's one of the notes. And then I know if I do this down, up thing, that's going to give me my notes of the A natural minor scale. Put them in alphabetical order, starting on the note A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's your A natural minor scale. What are the notes of the D natural minor scale? Do the same thing. There's the note D. So start there. Down, up, up. Those are your notes of the D natural minor scale. It's going to work for any starting point. So what about the pentatonic scale notes? So what about our A minor pentatonic? So the A minor pentatonic scale is A, C, D, E, G. So we start on the note A, C, there's an E, there's a G, there's a D. All right, so it looks like if you kind of do this, then you have your minor pentatonic scale notes. What about major pentatonic scale? So the C major pentatonic scale is going to be the same notes as the A minor pentatonic scale. You just start on the note C and then play the same 5 notes. That's your C major pentatonic scale. So C, there's your A, there's your E, there's your G, there's your D. So there's your A minor pentatonic scale notes. There's your C major pentatonic scale notes. So just memorize that pattern. You can easily find your 5 pentatonic notes for any given starting point. Point being is that you can stare at this chart and you can just find all types of information from it. So you determine the pattern, whatever it happens to be, whether it's an upward triangle or a downward triangle or, you know, moving whatever. You figure it out for one key or for one chord or for one note or whatever, and it's going to work the same way for every other key, every other chord, every other note. The pattern is always going to be the same. Since all 12 notes in music are equally spaced from one another, this chart is just a very convenient way of laying them out. Alright guys, hopefully you could see the usefulness of that chart. You know, you could do this for anything, any scale you could possibly think of, any chord you could possibly think of, diminished chords, augmented chords, ninth chords, minor ninth chords, whatever. Every single note is created equal. The distance between every single note is equal to one another regardless of the starting point. The tonics chart goes for infinity in both the X direction and the Y direction. And that's it in a nutshell. So hopefully you guys like this one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.